And Ratner was basically offered the opportunity to immigrate to Israel, apparently by Netanyahu, because a week before he did so, he was Netanyahu's guest of honor at the UN alongside Alan Dershowitz, the former Epstein defense lawyer. So quite an interesting array of special guests to have at your UN speech. And Ratner and Packer were actually recently at Mar-a-Lago dining with Musk and Trump.
Whoa, what a coincidence.
And apparently Ratner is trying to make his Hollywood comeback after being banished, basically, because of all the litany of sex assault claims against him.
More entertainment,
he's directing the new Melania Trump documentary that's supposed to air on Amazon at the end of the year, on which Melania is an executive producer.
Are we really objective?
Yeah, and then oddly, around the same time, James Packer buys this property neighboring Mar-a-Lago in Florida that had previously been reserved for like the Secret Service and close friends of the Trump family. So interesting that a major figure in the Netanyahu corruption trial who became Netanyahu's neighbor, and that's part of what the charge is about, is now kind of repeating the same thing. And one of the reasons I think Brett Ratner is really interesting and his team up with Russell Simmons is interesting is because Brett Ratner is very much involved with sort of the heir to Mayor Lansky.
Of course they won't support me, because this is who they support.
Miami businessman.
On YouTube too, I've proven it. All these wonderful people.
Who's basically credited, by mainstream media too, as inventing this way for Lansky and sort of other mobster bank figures like Tibor Rosenbaum, developing these ways to sort of launder money for organized crime from illicit into legitimate ventures, and created these banks in the Bahamas and all of that to do so. And Ratner is
don't forget, pimp out all your kids.
Their adopted son and adopted father. They're like very, very, very close. They have a lot of weird ties also, the two of them, to Michael Jackson's final years. And according to Jackson, an attempt to sort of take away his stake in the Beatles music catalog, and a lot of really weird industry stuff there. But basically the ties to organized crime are pretty extensive. Brett Ratner claims to have been walked home from school and middle school personally by Lansky. Doesn't really make a lot of sense, but that's his pretty clear in my book as well. Organized crime, despite the public perception that's been developed, did not magically disappear in the 60s and the 70s and 80s. Arguably, it went in, the organized crime figures rebranded as philanthropists and as multinational corporations and as oligarchs.
And
because of the system that was developed allegedly by Malnick, but also others,
thanks for all the support,
they're able to sort of launder money from illicit into these legitimate ventures, and so that illicit money pumps up these legitimate ventures and allows them to become huge